Hey there, listeners. Just a heads up, this episode might dive into some heavy stuff like rape, sexual assault, suicide, violence, or drugs. If you or someone you know needs help, reach out to a professional or call a helpline. Remember, we're not experts, we're just here to share stories and start conversations. If you choose to skip this episode, that is totally okay. Take care of yourself and each other. Enjoy the show. Hey, Eileen, welcome to the Mentally About Us podcast. I'm so happy to have you today.
Thank you, Justine. I really appreciate you having me on. Hopefully, my testimony and just everything I went through as a teenager, I can inspire and just lend a voice, because I feel like as humans, we all go through things, and now we have information. We can all spread it, and we're all here for moral support. So thank you, Justine.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have your story on here with Mentally About Us. We invite all stories of like what you went through, like as a child, as a teenager, because I feel like it is very important. Back then, we didn't really have a voice with the way, especially with the way mental health was like pretty much like you were seen but not heard kind of thing. At least that was like my mom's generation and then my generation. And high school, I graduated in 2013. I don't know when you graduated and what generation you're
2007.
from. 2007.
Yes.
Okay, so I think you're on my sister's generation. So even more back then, it wasn't even spoken about. Like this was like pre-social media. Like this was like MySpace time, right?
Yeah, perfect. So we had MySpace, and I don't know, we used to have like a site called Skonex, but it was like a high school site.
Really?
Yeah, like it was called Skonex, and depending on the high school you went to, you would go on that site, and everyone from your high school, they would friend request you, and it was addicting. I'm not gonna lie. And it
So
was,
interesting.
yeah, I
I've
don't know.
never heard of it.
Yeah, it was called Skonex. I don't know if it was a New York thing, but
Could be.
my high school had it.
Yeah, definitely. I actually grew up in New Jersey.
So there you go.
Yeah, so I grew up in Bergen County by Hudson County area, like right by the Lincoln Tunnel. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. Now in Florida, but I spent 22 years in New Jersey. So my roots are from tri-state. Yeah, so okay, so setting the stage, it's back in literally the time that my sister was in high school. I've never heard of that social media site, but sounds very intriguing and such. So with MySpace too, like there wasn't, at least to me, I don't remember, was there much like bullying then on MySpace? Because on social media today is so different.
But so yeah, honestly, when it came to like MySpace, like you saw it, but it wasn't like as much as I see it like now. I think we were more like loving each other, and we found it offensive. Like if we weren't like on our friends' top five, and even
Yes.
if you were not the first one, it was always an issue. I didn't care about those things. As long as I made it on my best friends like top whatever, it was crazy. But we came from that, and I had a best friend at the time, and I loved her for it. And she was like, Eileen, you're like my number one. But my sister, I have to put her on top one so she could feel better about herself. I'm like, listen, you do whatever you got to do. I know I'm number one.
Oh my God, I remember that drama. Because when I was on MySpace, so when I got MySpace for the first time, I was in third grade, like very secret. I didn't even have a profile picture or anything like that. Like I was just like, I want to be on MySpace. I was literally like in my freaking computer in the basement, like, oh, buttons in the dark. I'm like a freaking 10, what was, I think back at it now, I'm like, maybe this is why I have like some severe ADHD. But anyway, I feel like I could go a whole conversation about MySpace. But I want to go back into your teenage life I know it was a while back. For the best that you can understand, of course, you did go through an abusive relationship when you were a teenager. So, when it comes to abusive, was this emotional and physical, or just emotional, or
It was
both?
everything. It was
Goodness, I'm
everything.
so
It was
sorry.
emotional. Yeah, it was emotional. It was physical. It was mental. It was everything, even financial. Um,
Really? At
yeah, it was
17?
financial. Yeah, I started working. I was a teenager. I think this was like narrowing down to I was a senior in high school. That's what happened. I was a senior in high school. My mom, being that it was three of us and it was a single household, my mom really couldn't afford to get us things, and graduation was approaching. So then I'm like, I need a job. So my twin sister started working at McDonald's, and of course I followed her footsteps because I'm like, I need a weekend job at least. And so I started working there, and I remember, I believe I was graduating. And fast forward, I see this like guy because I met him at McDonald's. I see this guy. He has a long ponytail. And I was a virgin, by the way. All through high school, my best friend and my friends, they were like very sexually active.
Hmm.
But my parents, they were religious, Catholic. Then my dad's family, they were like Christian. So they always kind of like put the fear of God when it came to those things, like you have to wait for marriage. So I really wasn't putting too much stock on it. But don't get me wrong, when it came to that, like, yes, I felt lonely. Like, yes, I'm a virgin. I would like to have that companionship. But I think this is like all of our mistake is like we're looking for love in the wrong places. And that's what it was. So I met Nathan at McDonald's. He had this like long ponytail. I thought he was handsome. He had really nice features, and I thought he was a model. I was like, wow, he's really gorgeous. And at that time, you battle with body image, you battle with body dysmorphia. And I was kind of like on the cusp of like kind of gaining weight, but then losing it, if that makes sense. So I kind of had to accept myself, if that makes sense. But I met Nathan and I thought he was cute, and we started to flirt. We started to flirt. So in that, I met Nathan, and I was going through a lot. At the time, my aunt was murdered, and she was like my rock. My aunt always gave me that pep talk, like, you know what, Eileen, you're going to go to college, you're going to do great things. Like, make sure that the husband you do have, make sure that you lose your virginity to him. So they're not throwing in your face that when they met you, you weren't a lady. So I had like pretty good, strong role models in my life. And then, like I said, like I was going through that where I lost her to murder. And then I met him, and in that, we were flirting, and he was like a breath of fresh air. He was a breath of fresh air. I was going to start college that September. So I was excited. I graduated high school. Here I am. I'm meeting this like cute, handsome guy, and we're flirting in McDonald's. And next thing you know, the red flags were there. There were signs.
Hmm.
And the first sign that I wish I would have paid attention to was rushing the relationship. Because in us meeting about like a week or two, he wanted like a relationship, and he was like love bombing me. Like, you know what? I've never felt like this for anyone. And he just started to like love bomb.
Hmm.
And it started with like telling me like, do you feel, we're like love stones? And I'm like, but I don't move at this pace. Yeah, like he called it love stone. Like
I've
we
never heard
shared
of
a
that.
moment. Yeah, I
All
don't.
right.
Yeah.
This guy
So
sounds interesting.
for sure, we shared a moment, and he called it like he was like, you know what? And it was like 2 weeks into us meeting each other. He's like, you know what? I feel really love stone. Like I feel in love with you. And in my head, I'm like, I like you, but I don't know if this is love. Like I'm
Hmm.
young. I don't know what love is, but whatever. I like the feeling. I'm not gonna lie. So I lean into the feeling. And then all of a sudden, he gets fired shortly after from McDonald's. That was another red flag. Cause I'm like, why are you just got there not even too long ago? Like you're the new guy in town and you couldn't keep this job. I think he was there less than a month. And his aunt got him the job. And I remember like I asked his aunt, like, hey, like what was going on with Nathan? And she was like, well, because he wasn't telling me the truth. He just told me, I just walked away. The manager just pissed me off, so I just quit. That was his story. But I think she said something to the effect like he was like stealing or something. I was like,
Stealing burgers.
yeah, like I don't know what he stole. I don't know if he stole some money.
Let's go back to when he was stealing a hamburger.
Yeah, I wish it was that, because then that would have been petty theft, right?
It'd be so funny. He need that hamburger.
Right. Like it's like it would have been petty theft had it only been that. But it was like more so, I think she said something to the effect like he was just like taking like going into like people's lockers and taking things or something like that. And I wish I would have listened to her because I ignored her. I was just like, huh, but he told me something different. And of course, I'm young. I believe him because I like him. So I'm like, all right, whatever. And then when he no longer worked at McDonald's, I was still there. He got another job at a Quiznos. And the Quiznos, I believe, was only like, I want to say like 2 blocks away from us. And at first I thought, oh my God, we're going to be close. We can, whenever we get out of work, we can meet each other. That's another red flag, because the closer they are, that's a power. It's a power move. It's there for him to control you and look at your moves, right? So then it got to the point where I was kind of feeling, after a while, like you do feel kind of suffocated, because the way Nathan started was, Nathan was like, oh, let me pick you up after work. And I used to come out at night, like at 11 p.m., my shift was done. And Nathan started picking me up after work. And it would get to the point sometimes where I didn't want Nathan to pick me up at work all the time. I'm a reader. I wanted to read. And I wanted to enjoy my train ride home alone and get home by myself without him. And it got to the point where I told him one time, like, listen, Nathan, don't take this the wrong way. Cause he would call my job and I'm like, I don't want to meet today. Like, can I just walk home by myself? He was not taking no for an answer.
Mm.
He literally was outside. My manager, I call him Lulu. That's his nickname. So Lulu's like, Eileen, you know that Nathan is outside waiting for you. So when I look, he's across the street, and I'm pissed, but then I'm kind of scared, because I'm like, but we had a conversation. You were not to pick me up. Why are you waiting for me outside? So the next thing that I did, I was like, Lulu, we're gonna have to go through the back. So what we did was, we had a locker room downstairs at the McDonald's, and we went out through the back. He didn't see me. So I left with Lulu, and I'm like, Lulu, can you just take the train with me? He was like, well, you and I, we already take the two trains together. We're on the same commute. Why not? So when I think that I'm finally breathing a fresh, like a breath of fresh air,
Hmm.
I get home. Guess who follows me home?
Nathan.
Nathan. So Nathan follows me home. And then at the time, my mom didn't even know I was really in a relationship. She didn't know anything about him, because I knew it was kind of wrong, because my body was already telling me there was a lot of red flags.
Hmm.
So Nathan shows up and he's banging on the door, and my mom is sleeping. So I have to go, and I'm like, so then I'm like, Nathan, I told you that I don't know why you showed up. So while I'm thinking that's what Nathan is mad at, Nathan is seething with jealousy, because Nathan's like, I know who you left with. You left with Lulu, and Lulu likes you. And he proceeded to like call me all types of names. So that's when he started calling me like I was a hoe, I was a slut, and things like that. And I'm like, like this was not a person that I knew 2 weeks ago, right? Like,
Yeah.
that
Huge red
was
flag. 0 to 100.
right. And it was like, but where I didn't see this person in the beginning. So then he starts off telling me like, I don't want to see you hanging out with this person or whatnot. And then like he's like grabbing me and like really roughing me up. And I know like this isn't normal. And I'm like, your reaction is like literally like it just doesn't match. I
Right.
understand jealousy. I get it. But you and I, we spoke, and Lulu is just my friend. Like, am I not allowed to have male friends? But like I said, fine, cool, great. So I don't know what I told Nathan that day, but I needed to work the next day, and I had to go to sleep to work an early shift on a Sunday. But I know it was like a really long, grueling conversation that I had with Nathan, because I remember getting up the next day and I was really tired. But Lulu, he's at work the next day, and I tell Lulu everything that's going on. And Lula's like, look, I know you just met this guy. You're excited about him, but he's not a good person. He's not a good person for the simple fact that you need to understand that there are signs when you date people, and this is not Lulu. I want to say Lulu made me kind of question things. Lulu's like,
Hmm.
look, when you meet someone, do you feel right when Nathan shows up? Like sometimes, like, does your body feel comfortable? And I go, no, my body, like my Holy Spirit doesn't feel like I'm doing a good thing. And he's like, all right, did you tell your mother that you have this kind of relationship? I go, no. And he goes, why? And I start thinking, I was like, damn, because it's wrong. And I know
Hmm.
it's wrong. I didn't grow up seeing this. My mom never ever allowed any man to beat on her. I didn't grow up seeing this in any household where abuse was running rampant. So I didn't get it from home. So then when our relationship starts to progress, I had this best friend. Her name was Lean for short. She gives me advice and she's like, listen, Eileen, I know that you think that this guy is good news. And she's like, you're a virgin and I get it. Like you want that companionship and you wanna have that connection with someone, but this man is bad news. And I didn't really like take her advice and I wish I did.
Mm-hmm.
But my best friend, she got pregnant out of high school. So she was like doing her own life. And I remember I went to her baby shower and I took Nathan with me. And this is when the abuse like started. Nathan started to control the people around me. So we get to this baby shower. He meets my best friend. And the world is so small that in this baby shower, he knows my best friend's husband's brother. They went to the same school.
Mm.
So then they got to talking. I'm thinking we're having a good time. And then all of a sudden I'm at my best friend's baby shower because I haven't seen my best friend in months. Next thing you know, Nathan is like, oh, we need to leave. And I'm like, bro, but I just got here. Like, why do we have to go? So Nathan is like rushing me and I'm not thinking anything of it. I'm like, fine, whatever. So then I say bye to my best friend and I know my best friend is sad, but whatever. We say our goodbyes. And then we get into a cab. When we're in this cab, Nathan hits me. Nathan hits me. And Nathan is like, I told you that your friend, even though you think you know her, you don't know her. She's a hoe. How the hell you're pregnant as a teenager? And he's like, I don't want you hanging around with her.
Very narcissist.
Exactly.
Everything you're saying is remember he went home with you and he was pissed off because you pretty much hit his ego and you
Mhm.
like really hit a nerve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever you challenge a narcissist, right?
Exactly.
This
That's
is
what I was going for, a challenge. Yep.
yeah, like whenever you challenge narcissists, like trust me, don't ignore the signs. It's there. So challenging to them, that just means that the power that they're trying to exert on you, that they're losing that power. So they're going to
Mm-hmm.
go 20 times harder now, right? So if you had him on you already, you're going to have him on you 20 times, but this time he's coming worse than the last. And this time he made sure that my best friend was the first one to go. He's like, I don't want you with your best friend. He's like, she has to go. You can't hang around with her. It's guilty by association and you're a goody two shoes or whatever. You shouldn't be hanging around people like that. So that was the way he cut off my so-called influence. So I didn't speak to my best friend. I cut her off after that because I listened to him. Because again, this is him controlling me. This is him. The people in your lives, he has to cut them off because they can see it. They can help you. So he cuts my best friend off. And then it started with my twin sister. My twin sister and him did not get along. And I remember my twin sister and him, every time they would be in each other's aura, they would argue with each other. So then he's like, your twin sister, yeah, I don't want you hanging around with her. I don't want you going out with her. He was like, if you're going to go out, you need to stay home. I was like, I need to stay home.
If you go out, you need to stay home.
I needed to stay home. He
That
was
made
like,
no sense. In what?
yeah, he says, good girl, stay home.
How
That's
old
what
was he? Was he older than you?
No, he was,
Okay.
I was 17 that same year. I was going to turn 18 in September.
Okay.
I think he just turned 17 in
Okay.
February. So I was older than him by a year. He was 89. I'm 88.
Mm-hmm.
So I was older than him by a year. But these are things, like I said, like I didn't know anything. So he was isolating me from my twin sister, from my best friend. He was even my mom. Like my mom, when she finally met him, it was the worst day of my life. And the reason I want to say that is because Nathan sent me to the hospital many times. Many times I had bruises on my body show up and I would never say anything. I kept my relationship silent for months. And I remember I had to go on a doctor visit and I was still under my mom's insurance. I was in college, so you could stay on your mom's insurance because my mom is a teacher. I believe until the age of
It's
21 or something.
25.
Yeah, or 25 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was under her insurance and I needed to get a full physical, I think for college or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my mom, she goes with me. And all of a sudden, when I take off my coat, I have bruises on my body. And then my mom is like, what the hell? So then the doctor examines me and everything and my weight. My normal weight is 120. I went from 120 to 97 to 96 pounds in a matter of like days. I
Oh my
lost a lot.
gosh, that's so dangerous.
Yeah, I lost weight. I wasn't eating. I couldn't eat. He would call me, like, he would just say really mean things. He would say, "Oh, like you don't want to get like your mom. You know, your mom is big," or he would say like really mean things. So it just got to the point that like really starving myself so he doesn't use food against me was one of those like survival instincts that would kick in. So I had to learn how to fast, in a sense. So then the doctor makes a comment in front of my mom and he's like, listen, your weight to drop from 120 to 97, 96 pounds, that's not normal. And then when my mom, after we left the doctors, I was kind of forced to kind of tell her what was going on. So I told her like I met this guy named Nathan, and he hits me, he abuses me, he yells at me, and he tells me these things. And I remember like my mom just like she was just like in awe, and she was just like baffled because my mom is like, and you never told me anything, you never said anything. And I told her I didn't know how to say anything for the simple fact that I don't have a support system, right? I wasn't really talking to my mom, even though we were all in the same household. I wasn't communicating with my twin sister. I wasn't telling my mom anything. And I was keeping these things in me. And even working at McDonald's, I had to quit that because he was jealous of Lulu. And he would always like punish me for that. So it got to the point where I had to quit my job. And when it came to my paychecks, he would take my paychecks and spend it on just random women and accuse me of,
Of course.
yeah,
Of
accuse me
course.
of cheating. That's what they do. He accused me of cheating. And it was just such a hell for me that my hair started falling off. I have really nice, beautiful long hair. My hair was falling out. Like you can, like in the mirror, like I can see my bones, like even like my face, like I just look like a skeleton. And I didn't recognize the person I was looking at. And many times, in the streets publicly, Nathan would beat the crap out of me. That if anyone did intervene, a lot of people would tell me, listen, you gotta press charges.
Hmm.
And I would press charges and I would drop those charges. I would drop those charges because he always like showed me this side and it sucks. And I know that people like they judge many of us in this situation, but listen, it sucks to say that the person that's abusing you the most, when you do have those beautiful moments with that person, you do see a beautiful person, and it sucks to say that, right? But this is like a Stockholm syndrome too. Like
Hmm.
you start kind of like identifying with them in a sense, and you're like, wow, when you're not abusive, you see me and you can be this beautiful person and you can shower me with gifts. Like, why can't this person stick around? Why does it always have to be the other person that's always calling me a hoe and a slut? And the person that's always saying that I'm stupid and I don't know how to have a conversation? Like, why I always have to meet him? And he's the person I'm scared of. I had fear of him. And he was a church person. He was a so-called Christian. So he used the power of God to put the fear of God in me. And he would always tell me, like, if you do this, you're going to go to hell and you're a sinner. And he would tell me these mean things. And Nathan, I thought Nathan was going to get better because I got pregnant. I accidentally got pregnant. And everything was going on. Like when Nathan and we were going to have a child, on all of that, remember how I was going to start college? I dropped out of college. I dropped out of
I
college.
wonder if he purposely did that.
Yeah.
You know, because you said accident, and I'm like, yeah, of course, on yours, I believe that, but I'm kind of wondering on the other side.
Yeah, like it was just bad. Like September came, I was in college, and then I was thriving in college. I love college, and I was gonna be a cop. I was studying criminology. I
Because your
wanted to be a
podcast,
psychologist.
yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to do that. I used to watch this show with my mom called Dale Hinman, and she was a criminal profiler from Florida, and she was so amazing at her job. And I was like, man, I want to be just like her. But I had him. I was dating him, and I felt like I had to drop out of college. My grades were just dropping, and I left college. I left McDonald's. I really didn't have anything going for me. And Nathan and our relationship, obviously it wasn't going great. We would break up. And in those breakup moments, I found out he cheated on me. He cheated on me with his ex-girlfriend, who he called a hoe and a slut,
Of course.
right? And her name was Jazzy. Well, her nickname Jazzy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were in church and I was pregnant and he got really upset with me and I didn't understand why. And years later, it came to me. I was like, no wonder you were upset because you were cheating on me with her. And I inadvertently sat next to her in church. And you didn't want me to find out that you were actually seeing her while we were going to have a child. So I understood that like after, like, wow, you cheated on me with her. And then I even found out that he was abusing her too. Like
Of
conversations
course.
that were had. Yeah. Conversations that were had, he was abusing her too. But when it came to the way I got pregnant, I remember we were not even together. We broke up. He had a new relationship with this girl. And I'm not going to lie, I started a new job. I was working at a pool hall. I was making a lot of money, actually. I
Mm-hmm.
was 18 years old. With that money, like him and I, like when we would get back together, we would go on dates. He would use my money to go on dates. He would use my money to go shopping. He would like take my money. And I'm like, yo, what am I doing? I'm working this and you're like helping yourself to my money and you don't even like buy me gifts.
Does he have a relationship with his mother?
Beautiful thing you bring that up. His mother passed away.
Well, first,
His
that's
mother passed
sad.
away.
That's sad. 'Cause the
Yeah.
reason I ask that is because typically, if he has a bad relationship with his mother, like you treat your mother, the way you treat your mother is how you treat the woman in your life.
Yeah. No,
So I was
his
wondering
mom,
that. Yeah.
yeah, I forget like how his mom passed away, but I think it was when he was young.
Mm,
And he, you know what's funny? He brings that up as to why, right? Because he didn't have his mom in his life. Right. So he brings that up, and I'm like, right, but your father, his father is the opposite. His father is such a beautiful person.
really?
His father is the opposite, and his father warned me. His father had a conversation with my mom. I want your daughter to know my son is not good for your daughter. My son used to beat his other girlfriend. My son is a drug addict. I didn't know he was doing drugs at all. And he goes, I kicked my son out multiple times out of my house because he was stealing from me.
Of
I was
course.
like, wow, right. So he was stealing from his father, he was stealing from his own brother, from his stepmom. And there was no need because his father, the only thing his father wanted was for Nathan to go to school, work, and his father would provide room and board. All he asked was that his son gets a job and, he's not asking for a lot. But his father told my mom, like, your daughter needs to run away from my son. My son is abusive. My son uses coke. That's what he said. And I was like, I remember just like, oh my God, like who's this man? But again, when I heard this conversation, I didn't listen, and I told Nathan, like, your dad said this about you. And Nathan, of course, Nathan's like, everyone, this is what all narcissists say. It's us against the world, baby, I love you. He's just lying. They don't want to see us together. And I'm like, all right, whatever, right? I'm not gonna argue. You never want to argue with a narcissist
Oh, I did.
because yeah, like you never want to
Well,
argue.
not a guy. I had a narcissist client, and she's a woman, and that's a whole other story.
Yeah, like you're never gonna go anywhere, and it's just gonna really like exert a lot of your energy. Silence is it.
Yes.
Listen, silence goes a long way.
Yeah.
It does. Wusa.
Live and learn. Yep.
Live and learn. Silence is, it works.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, like I wish I would have listened to the dad. So I'm telling Nathan, and I'm thinking like, wow, like yeah, like Nathan has this declaration of love. Like why not? It is everyone against us, right? Wrong. It's never that. The father was right as always. I just didn't look at the signs, but I just remember like even like when we got pregnant, like it was at least for me, I lost my virginity to Nathan, but I believe the way he did it is like he gaslit the situation and I didn't want to lose my virginity to him, but I just
Mm.
felt kind of forced.
He preyed on you too.
Yeah, like he weaponized it. He was
Yeah.
like, if we don't have sex, he's like, I'm just gonna leave. Like he's like, yeah, so that's what he did. And I'm like, fuck. So I was like, now I have this decision. And like I said, I was 17, 18 years old at this time. And I'm finding love in the wrong places. And I don't come from this. So I justify this. And I'm like, fine, maybe if I do give him my virginity, maybe he will let up on the abuse. He never did. but I got pregnant. And I remember him and I, we were drinking. It was a random day. We were drinking, we were having sex. And I remember like just even that day, like he was just like, instead of it really being sex, like he was just on some sense like forcing me. And I felt like, is this rape? But yet again, I'm
Mm.
like, it can be rape because the way they made rape sound was like it has to be with someone unfamiliar and they have to take it by force. Like this can't be rape, but it is because Nathan forced me to have sex with him even when I didn't want to. So I'm like, no, you raped me. You sexually assaulted me. So, in all of that, I'm feeling symptoms and I'm feeling the side effects of the pregnancy. I don't know that I'm pregnant. I'm not eating. I can't keep anything down. I'm throwing up. And then my mom is like looking at me, and my mom, she's like asking me questions. My mom is like, are you okay, Eileen? Because you seem like you don't seem yourself. You're pale. Like something's off with you. So I confide in my aunt. I don't tell my mom. And I'm like, Auntie, I think I'm pregnant. And she's like, but why? I was like, I can't keep anything down. His cologne, I would get like nauseous. And I would tell him, like, your cologne is making me want to throw up. And I remember one time, like, he beat the shit out of me while being pregnant because I said, yeah, because I
That's
said his
evil.
cologne, yeah, because I said his cologne was making me nauseous. I couldn't smell him. Like, I felt repulsed.
Hmm.
And I've never been pregnant, but it's my body telling me I don't want you next to me. You're causing me nausea. So he couldn't see it. So he proceeds to beat the shit out of me. So then I take this pregnancy test at my aunt's house. And I got the confirmation and she's like, yeah, dude, you're pregnant. So then I'm like, fuck, how am I gonna tell my mom? I'm a goody two shoes. I had a promising future ahead of me. Everyone is banking on me. My aunts and my uncles have bets on my twin sister and I, like who's gonna get pregnant first.
Oh my god, that's kind of a little messed up, but in my opinion, that's just my opinion though.
Yeah, no, it was fucked up when they told us that. Like, yeah, we had a fucked up bet, but we lost
What?
our money. Yeah, they were banking on my twin sister to get pregnant because she was.
Actually, that kind of happened to my boyfriend. Not obviously not pregnant, but like had a bet, not a bet, but like thought that my boyfriend was gonna go to jail. Like out of all the siblings, out of all the siblings, he had his like he thought it was gonna be him because my boyfriend was a little rebel. I ended up being his like the biological son that ended up going to jail.
Oh yeah, yeah, because
Is that
it's almost like
crazy?
God does that on purpose.
Yeah, he told me that. I was like, that's kind of fucked up, but it's a good
It
thing he
is.
didn't go to jail.
It was so it's fucked up, right? But they already
Yeah.
they see the patterns. Like my twin sister doesn't really have the grades. Like I was always the nerd. I was reading Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment in high school. The unabridged version, by the way, that my aunt gave me because she was in Harvard. So that was the kind of future I was looking forward to. I'm this nerd. I have a promising future. So when they found out that I was pregnant, my aunt was like, "Listen, dude, like you just made me lose money." I was like, "What the hell?" So,
The story just gets better.
right?
I should
So
have
then
got
I'm like,
popcorn. You should have told me. We've gotten
right.
pop.
I'm like, I mean, in a sense, it's like it does make you feel bad because I'm like, damn, like I still want to go to school. Like I could still turn this around.
Yeah.
But, I got pregnant and I didn't know how to tell my mom. And you know who told my mom? Nathan did because Nathan is such an asshole.
By the way, did this happen? I'm trying to think of also time span here. Because we're talking about you being 17, 18. Did this all happen like in a year?
Within a year. In a year. That's I'm telling you, that is
Oh
the
my
abusive
god.
relationship because they're rushing to control the relationship.
That's
They're
stressful.
rushing to, yeah, they're rushing you to isolate everyone in your life. And remember, you have to rely on them. They everything when it comes to finances, when it comes to emotional, everything, breadcrumbs, everything, you rely solely on them. And that is a strategy that they use.
The
And
finance part though. Sorry. That was you weren't you the breadwinner?
I was the bread. Oh yeah, I was the all the time. I was a bread. He couldn't keep a job. He kept getting fired. He got fired from Quiznos as well. He could not keep a job at all. He was even supposed to go to college. He never went. But he just and I wish I could have. I should have saw that like as a red flag. Like you need to go. Like this man can't even secure a
Yeah.
job.
You know what's
You know.
crazy too is like what you're saying and everything I'm hearing is I can you you have a good heart so far. I mean, I just met you today, but it sounds like you have a really good heart. And I think another thing too is society says, like, just because, let's say, they work in McDonald's, can't hold a job, whatever, like they're going through it. If people like look down on it, it's like, oh, you're an asshole. You know what I mean? So I guess in the back of our head, we try our best to not judge because we have a little bit of a fear of people
Yeah,
seeing us like that. But then also, and then it's like a mix of having a good heart at the same time, and also kind of want to be a savior, like a saver,
yeah,
not savior,
yeah.
saver.
A
And
saver,
us
yeah,
women are like that. Like it's mostly women
yeah.
that we
We're always
feel that we have to
we have
save
this
them.
habit. Yeah, we have this habit, all of us as women, and we have this habit to want to fix men.
Uh huh.
We have this habit to want to fix men. And I want to tell every woman, every person out there, you can never fix, right? You can never fix because you weren't the person that broke it. You
Mm-hmm.
didn't break it. It needs to fix itself. You
Yeah.
need to, yeah, like you need to fix you, and you need to fix how you want to be as a person and be the best version of yourself. But once you try to fix that person, because yes, I try to do that. I try to be like, you know what? Maybe he needs love. He lost his mom. Maybe I can try and clean him. Clean him. He's a drug addict. I wasn't using drugs. He one time wanted me to try marijuana. I was like, oh my God, I thought I was gonna freaking die the first time I took a swig.
Hey,
Like I was like, oh my God, my heart was on fire. I was like,
same.
yeah, I was like, yeah, I can't do drugs, right? I was like, but I'm telling you, like Nathan was just every bit like as like not only like controlling, but it just got to the point where he was just like suffocating me. And I didn't know how to get from under his thumb. I didn't. His brother, like he started turning like his family members like against me.
Of
And he
course.
would like tell his brother like things about me, that I was the psycho, that I was the one lacking in the relationship. And his brothers would have conversation with me that would leave me feeling like every ounce of like empty on top of being empty, because I'm like, this man is mentally, emotionally abusing me.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are over here trying to justify those behaviors and not looking at the person who is your brother. And you're trying to justify his the way he treats women.
I feel like it's a
But
men thing too.
yeah.
It's always the
And
women. We're the bitches.
yeah, it's always us. And I would like to say that his family, some of them were fucked up. And these were people that were following God, but I don't want to put anything on God because this is not who God represents. God does not represent people that come in that come and say, "Oh, we're Christian," and do the opposite of Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
His sister, she was such a bitch, and she supposedly was Christian. And one time I remember I came to her house because I really needed to use the restroom. And I remember she was nursing a son with a married man from church, but you're Christian. So I'm knocking outside of the door because Nathan, first of all, told me to be there. So I already was at the house because I already had fear. So I was like, fuck, now I gotta go wait for him. And she's not opening the door, but here she is. She's in the house and she's purposefully not opening the door for me. And that was such a bad day for me because Nathan beat the shit out of me because of his sister that day, by the way. And I'm pregnant.
That's like I
Yeah.
said, evil. If especially if a woman's pregnant, you're beating the shit out of her. It's like you're not just beating her, you're beating the child. And you had the child, I'm assuming.
Not from him because
Oh,
we'll
okay.
get there, like everything that
Okay.
happened. But God is good, but his family members, his brother one time tried to like hit on me while his wife is away. We're going to church, right? We're waiting for his older brother to take us all to church. And the brother is like making a pass at me. And I'm like, I remember I was like, dude, I'm only 18. I don't know if I wasn't pregnant at the time. I don't believe of Nathan. And I remember just like, this family is so fucked up. Like, I have to not only watch myself from your brother who's abusive, but also from you. You're a predator and you're trying to like set up an appointment for us to see each other while your wife is working. I'm like,
It gets worse.
God. Yeah, like it gets worse. Listen, it was a lot. But in all that, I remember fast forward, like months went by and I didn't go to the brother's house anymore, going to church. I didn't want to go to church anymore. Cause I'm like, where is God in all of this? Like, where is God? And then what happened was that In all of this, I kind of like made a decision to leave the church, and I made a decision to not be with his like family members. And I remember one time Nathan did find out eventually what his brother did to me, and Nathan dragged me while pregnant, dragged me. And I believe we were like, it was like a few miles, dragged me. We were like in a highway and there were like cars honking because this man is beating me, literally like shaking me, hitting me every time we stopped at a red light. And you just see cars like honking, basically like yelling at him, like, dude, you don't hit a woman. Like, what is wrong with you? And the reason, yeah, he was dragging me to his brother's house to confront the brother. And the brother denies it, of course. So then I get beat. And then I get called a liar. So then in all of this, fast forward, I'm pregnant. I finally go get prenatal care because I wasn't taking care of myself. And I remember the nurse is like, well, congratulations, you're gonna have a boy. And I remember I was happy in a sense because I'm like, maybe this child is gonna change Nathan. Maybe this child may be the person to want to get this narcissist to fix himself and become the better version because we are welcoming a child.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong. Nathan found out that we were having a son, and I thought Nathan would be happy for me. And that same day, Nathan says, you know what? Let's go out to eat and let's celebrate. So I'm like, all right. So then I'm getting ready in the bathroom. And when you're pregnant, you don't want to do your hair. So I put it in like a messy bun. I don't know why I did this. Nathan grabs me by the hair and he pulls me to the floor and he starts beating the shit out of me. And he's like, he's like, you better comb your fucking hair. I'm not going out with you like that. And I remember I'm on this floor crying, like I'm a ball because I'm trying to protect my son. And I remember like, I don't hear Nathan, but I hear utensils in the kitchen. And I'm like, what is he doing? Nathan comes back a few seconds later and he has two knives. He has one to me and he has one to my stomach. And Nathan tells me, it's either you or him. And this is a
If
trigger
it's you,
warning.
it's both.
Yeah. So then, literally, so this is what he says as he has a knife to my stomach and to me. He was like, I will make sure that you give birth. And when just like he already came up with a name that our son was going to be named Josiah. So he's like, when Josiah comes out, he was like, I'm going to make sure that I crush his skull. And I remember like hearing that, right?
That's so
Like,
evil. Like,
it's
that's just the
evil.
devil.
Yeah. So I remember hearing that. And even now, like I get really like emotional because I'm like, wow, like that's our son that you're talking about. Like to crush a kid, like a baby, like the baby is innocent. The baby didn't do anything to you. But the abuse it got worse. And all of that abuse lands me in the hospital because my water breaks. My water broke at just 6 months. And I remember even the way that happened, it was a lot leading up to that. So let me back up for a bit. So remember how I told you like my mom was gonna find out that I was pregnant? I never got to tell my mom the news. Nathan got on the phone with her and told my mom because my mom was like, you need to leave my daughter alone. You're producing you're already producing a lot of psychological and emotional abuse, and you don't know what that's like, as a mom. You've never been a parent. She was like, I wish my daughter never met you. Like, go to hell. Like, my mom was really going in on him. And Nathan goes, well, guess what? He goes like this, like, you're going to have to put up with me because he goes like this, you're going to be in my life forever. And my mom was like, no, I'm not. And he goes to my mom, well, yes, you are, because your daughter is pregnant. I remember because at this point we're on a landline, and a landline is a, we had cell phones, but technically at that time we were using more landlines,
Yeah.
which is the home phones. So I remember I picked up the phone and I was listening to the conversation. So I was like, fuck. Like my mom found out, and I hear this long pause. And I just remember my mom hanging up, and my mom is like, Eileen. I was like, fuck. I was like, I don't know how to explain this. And she was like, you're going to get an abortion right now. And I was like, damn, mom, like, I don't believe in abortions. And my mom kicked me out. Pregnant. So I was homeless with Nathan for a little while in the streets. And it was just really bad for me. I was at such a low point in my life. So I had to finally come home. I was like, mom, look, I'm not eating. I'm pregnant. I was like, he abuses me. I can't be with him anymore. I'm sleeping in train cars. And my mom got emotional, and my mom was like, you know what, you're my daughter, come back home. So then as I said, all of this abuse and everything that Nathan is doing to me forces my water to break. And I remember I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, I have a funny smell down there. Like, I'm taking a bath, and every time I take a bath, my panties are wet. And then my mom is like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, like my panties keep feeling wet. And I've been feeling like this, I think, like a few days. And she's like, oh shit. At this point, I'm not even in the house. So she's like, you need to get back in the house, get towels, make sure that you're on a couch because your water broke. That means that you're gonna give birth, your water broke. So I listened to her, and my mom, she makes it home and she calls the ambulance. And the ambulance, they come and assess me, and they're like, yeah, you're this is an emergency. You have to come. Your water broke. So I'm like, I'm only 6 months. I still have a few months to go. So I get to the hospital, they're observing me, and they're like, we have to keep you in the hospital for observation. You can't go home, and you might have to have an emergency C-section. So then I'm in the hospital, and I'm there from October to almost November. And my son, they were giving me like medication to kind of keep me from like going into early birth. But none of that helped, because Nathan comes to the hospital one time. While security guards are outside, Nathan beats the shit out of me while in the hospital. Okay. Because I'm reading
Horror.
yeah. Because I'm reading a Dan Brown book that he says was demonic. So he beats the shit out of me. Right. In the hospital. And yeah.
How
So
dare you read this book? It's demonic.
yeah. Everything I did, I was always a sinner. I was always sinning.
Jesus Christ. For like
Listen,
and we
it's a
need
lot.
Jesus now. I have this.
Yeah.
It's so funny how those are my choice of words.
Yeah, like right. But it's funny how like they use God and Jesus. I'm like, but when you get to know God and Jesus, you know that they would never, like, this is not who they are.
Yeah.
And he doesn't speak for them. So it was just like, okay, fine, you beat the shit out of me. Security guards, they come into the room. And I had this beautiful nurse telling me, like, look, things are not gonna get better. If I were you, I wouldn't even invite him when you give birth. And she's like, they do have women's shelter. She's like, I advise you to go to a women's shelter. They do have one, and they'll put you in a location that he won't find you. So I was like, all right, I was considering it. So as I'm in the hospital that day, they found out that Nathan beat me to the point that, guess what? Now I have to give birth. They're like, because of what he did to you, you have almost no water and your son is gonna die. So I'm like, fuck, like I have to have an emergency C-section. So I get scheduled to have the emergency C-section the next day. And I don't know why I had a change of heart, and I told Nathan, and Nathan comes. I know, I wish he would have never been there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, okay, maybe if he sees the son, maybe if he sees the birth of his son, maybe it will change him. So Nathan's there with me. I have a C-section. I hear my son crying. And to me, it was like one of the most beautiful joys of my life, my son. And I even see Nathan crying. And I even see like Nathan held our son. And I was like, oh, maybe this will change him. Wrong. Because just a few short days after, I was discharged from the hospital. And unfortunately, I couldn't take my son home. My son had to be in the NICU.
Okay,
Because
makes
my
sense.
son was only because my son was only like 6.5 I believe months, and he has something called necrotizing enterocolitis, and that is something that not newborn but premature babies have when they're born too early, and their lungs don't develop and things like that, and it's dangerous for babies.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, my son is in the NICU, and I'm visiting my son every day, providing breast milk and everything. And Nathan, he proceeds to just, again, he's abusive. And I finally reached my last straw, and I'm like, I can't continue my life like this. So I thought I made a decision. I was like, I don't want to see this man again.
Mm-hmm.
So the last time we met in the hospital, I was feeding my son. I didn't know Nathan was going to be there. So I'm feeding my son, and Nathan is like, look, he's like, we need to work on us. He's like, I would like to take you out on a date to go to the movies, where we have our son is here, and he says he's going to try and be a better person. And I fall into this bullshit because again, they're trying to pull you in again. So then I fall for it. I go to the movie theaters with him, and I'm thinking we're having a good time. And I mean, and we do. He's not as horrible as he normally is. Then I get a phone call from the hospital the next day. And my son is already 16 days born, like 14, 15 days. And I get a call and they're like, you need to come in. And I'm like, why? And they're like, your son, he hasn't been able to move his bowels. Like there's no bowel movement. So my son couldn't go to the restroom. And they're like, we've been giving him like a day or two. And we're noticing that your son needs to be operated. So then I'm scared because they're like, oh, your son's like lungs, like they're not really so much developed. So your son has necrotizing enterocolitis. And that's when they explained to me that this happens with preemies and they have to operate. And we all know that an operation on a newborn baby, like it's just, I just thought like, man, like a little baby to get operated. I was like, there's no way he can handle this. So then I'm like, I'm trying to pray to God and I'm like, God, please like save my son. So they brought two professionals from, I believe, the Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. And they're like, these men have experiences. They're going to operate on your son to see maybe if this operation, your son can move his bowels. And it was long, grueling hours in the chapel with Nathan. I remember I was praying and praying and praying. And they tell me like the surgery was a success. So I was like, okay, fine. The surgery was a success. And I would like to say that like my son lived, but unfortunately my son doesn't make a recovery. So as I'm in the chapel, I get someone else and they come and see me and they're like, we have bad news. And they're like, your son, Josiah, he's not going to live. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? And they're like, your son, he's not gonna live another day. He hasn't been able to move his bowels. And his heartbeat is just slowing down. And I was like, oh fuck. And I remember there was a nurse with him and she was God sent. God bless her. And I remember she was with my son from the day my son was brought into the NICU. She was his caregiver. And I remember when I finally made it upstairs, I'm only a few feet away from the room and she comes out storming and she gives me the biggest hug and she goes, I'm so sorry. And she starts crying. So I remember I'm trying to be strong and I'm like, man, I don't want my son to die. My son was already on earth 16 days. He was born November 7th and November 22nd. I'm literally seeing my son's heartbeat going down and it just goes down and down. And I'm like, damn. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be this strong. Like, I want my son to live. I'm like, God, if you love me, you will literally bring my son back. And every time I felt like I kept pleading to God, my son's heart monitor just kept reading it went from like the 80s to like the 30s and it started going down and down. And I remember I had my son in my arms. And then it just got to the point that it was just flatline. And then I had to disconnect my son. And that was like about it. My son passed away right in my arms. And I held my son. And Nathan was next to me. And I was so angry with Nathan because I'm like, why are you crying? Why do you get to cry? I'm in this situation because of you. Right. And also, like, I don't want to put everything on him because, yes, I should have left. Yes, I didn't know how to leave. Fear kept me there. Every time I tried to leave, it was just a new threat of harming the people that I love. And I never wanted the people that I love to get harmed because of me. And I felt like if there's anyone he needed to harm, it was me. So I'm holding my son and my son's body is cold. You could already see like the blood, like he's already swollen. Like you could already see the like just his whole body was like a purplish kind of color, like purplish, bluish kind of color. And I just remember having a moment with my son and I remember being angry at God. I was like, God, why? I was like, he was a little baby. But I didn't realize that God does everything for a reason. And in this moment, I'm angry with God, but I'm more angry at Nathan. And then Nathan, I remember my mom and my family members, they were being supportive during this time. And my mom was even nice enough to let Nathan stay with us at the house. And what ended up happening was that Nathan, it was just, I got a phone call from the hospital because they like doing portraits of newborn babies. So the hospital calls. And I remember I got a call and they're like, hey, we're just calling to remind you. And then they say my son's name. And I just start crying. And I'm like, my son passed away. And I remember as I'm saying this, the person on the other line is like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I remember trying to hold my composure. And then Nathan takes the phone. And you know what he does?
God, I'm
Nathan is
scared
like,
to
stop.
hear.
Yeah. Nathan is like, stop fucking crying. We're going to make another Josiah. And he proceeds to throw me on the bed and literally force me to have sex to replace our son. And I remember I was so numb, just numb. And I was just staying there like, this cannot be my life.
Stay tuned. Will be part 2 where Eileen will talk about how she got out of this relationship. Believe me, it is going to be a good part 2. I was at the edge of my seat when she was telling the story.